Hi everybody, I'm Jack the Rambling Raconteur, and I hope you're doing well. We've got All Hallows Eve coming up this weekend, and so I thought I'd do my book tag video on Tag Tuesday Eve. I was tagged a couple of weeks ago by Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics in his spooky, scary Halloween 2020 tag, and there's just 5 questions. But as Bloom says about Poe's work, every deep conceals a deeper deep, so let's see how far we can dive down with these prompts. Prompt 1 is, what is a scary book you have read that reminds you of 2020? Well, there are a couple of ones that I think jump to mind for a number of reasons, but I'm going to go through a couple of didn't quite make it. A Journal of the Plague Year by Defoe, for obvious reasons. The Last Election by Pete Davies. Again, I don't know if a huge number of people have read this book, but if you have enjoyed the works of George Orwell, or were interested in the ideas of Orwell, even if you didn't like his books. If you enjoy the film Brazil by Terry Gilliam, or again, are interested in the ideas of that film, even if it doesn't quite draw you in. This Brave New World, even, this might be a book that really interests you. And I highly recommend it, but it's not the one that comes to mind. It's not even Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Gibbon. Again, as we witness just civilization being rocked. I don't want to say wrecked, but rocked. Again, for a variety of reasons. The one that comes to mind is the short story Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And I want to briefly describe why. It'll probably take a minute. It's a great short story. It is a horror story. But what it shows is, how in one night a young man loses his sense of family, his sense of community, his faith to a certain degree, less explicitly, but how all of that is shattered, how he comes to ultimately distrust his wife, his family, his entire community, and really, it just ruins him. One night's experiences and his doubts, and how that just creeps in and just wrecks him. And when I look at 2020 and when I see everything going on that is truly scary, that is harrowing, there's just pressure and tension, on so many people, on me, but on so many people. Almost the only thing that is kept me going has been connection to my family, connection to my community, whatever that is. And it's had to change, and there have been so many people who have been affected, who've lost family members, or who have lost their community in a real, like forever lost. And there are others who have lost those connections to family, those connections to community. And I think that's probably the saddest thing, and probably the scariest thing, that sense of feeling alone and bearing the weight and bearing the tension and bearing the fear. And that it really is through our connections with each other that we become stronger, that we're able to move forward. And Young Goodman Brown, just is a short story that shows all of that gone and lost. And so I was terrified of it in high school even. Prompt 2, what is a scary book you will commit to reading in 2021? Well, I sort of have an ecumenical definition of scary. I'm definitely going to read a second volume of M.R. James' short stories, because I really enjoyed Count Magus and Other Stories, the first Penguin Classics volume of his stories. But I'll probably read Whitechapel Scarlet Tracings by Iain Sinclair, which is sort of horror-y, horror adjacent, spooky, I suppose. I regard Toni Morrison's Beloved as not just a great novel, but also, to a large degree, sort of a ghost story and a book that deals with a lot of things that horror deals with. I'm going to be rereading this in 2021, I think, so I'll count that. But if we want more conventional horror, in addition to M.R. James, I really enjoyed William Sloane's To Walk the Night, and I will be reading The Edge of Running Water, which is the second of his cosmic horror novels in this book. I'll read that next year. All right, prompt 3. Name a spooky writer you were scared to read. I don't know if scared to read is the right word. More scared at the loss of time. I've said before that I am not a huge fan of Henry James, that I regard a lot of his works as what would happen if Aristotle decided to write fiction. I'm not a fan of Aristotle either. I find him very boring. So with The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, I've read Turn of the Screw, The Jolly Corner. I think I rate Jolly Corner probably as the highest the most valuable Henry James work I've read. And I include a couple of novels in that. So I read one of the short stories that kind of was tenuously linked to the series, Sir Edmund Orme, and it was about 20 pages and quite tedious. So, prompt 4, of all the things you've lost in 2020, what do you miss the most? And I have to be perfectly honest, I am one of the most blessed people in that my 2020 has my personal family, my personal life, my employment, that has been affected, but not in a severe, life-altering, life-damaging way in any way. I cannot pretend to be able to understand what everyone else has been going through. I have family members who have lost their jobs. I know people who have lost loved ones to COVID-19, and there's so much going on that just reveals how fragile human life is, how fragile not just life but our existence, the things that fill in all the details around our human biological bodies, and I can't pretend that anything that's been going on in my life, any anxiety I've dealt with, any stress I've dealt with, any fears I've dealt with, even remotely compare to what so many others have been going through. Even with what my wife has had to deal with, there's no comparison. Hybrid learning or not being able to go to the movies. These are just things that I can't even begin to fathom. I will say, I think this is a weird Jack aside, remembering that I've taught science before. I do think that human vision is built to perceive 3 dimensions, and the amount of time people have been spending, and especially in this year, having interactions with people that we love and people that we care about through FaceTime, through Zoom, through Google Meets, whatever it is, rather than perceiving each other 3-dimensionally, in person, in form. It's so much of it has been 2-dimensional, and I wonder how that affects our vision and our minds and how we perceive other people. I'm fortunate in that I've been doing the quarantine and the physical distancing with my family, with my wife, my kids. So I've been able to see them throughout all of this time. But I think that's something. It's sort of just those physical face-to-face interactions with people, that we're creatures of 5 senses, and being able to appreciate all of that in our interactions with each other. So that's what I'll say. Prompt 5. How do you plan to forge ahead in 2021? Safely swashbuckling. I'm a big fan of the Lorax by Dr. Seuss, and there's, it goes through the entire story of what a beautiful world existed, and then how it was kind of all wiped out over time, and it's all gone. And then there's the last bit, which, if you've never read, massive spoiler alert coming up for a children's book. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot and nothing is going to get better, it's not. And that's 2021, and that's every day, for me, is what's something I have the ability to do that, lifts somebody else up? What's something that I have the ability to do that opens a door for somebody else, literally and figuratively, in their future? What's a connection I can make? What are the things I can be doing every day that, are planting those seeds, are watering those seeds, are, just providing the shade to the seeds when the sun's too hot, the young plants, and that's what I want to be doing in 2021, is continuing, to push forward. And I don't know where it's going to take us. I think that a lot of the things we're seeing right now are still going to be happening in January. But I again go back to what I said at the beginning, that the sense of humanity and our interactions with each other are what drive me and what give me hope every day, that no matter what's going on, there will be a way forward. So that's the scary, spooky Halloween 2020 tag. Let me know what you think. And have a great week, seriously. Thanks.